Chapter 3 is really important to establish Krishna as the Supreme Person. Similarly, this chapter 5 is establishing Srimad Bhagavatam as the Supreme Purana, as the Amala Purana, Supreme Pramana. There will be hardly anyone who will speak on the glories of the Bhagavatam without touching upon this pastime of Narada Muni and Vyasadev's conversation. Why Bhagavatam was written. Without this particular context, glories of Bhagavatam cannot be fully explained. That is why it is, and this chapter is very important contextually to establish Bhagavatam as the supreme literature. The previous chapter, we saw that the Sutta Goswami, the sages of Naimaranya, asked Sutta Goswami this particular question: in what period and at what place was this first begun? Their meaning, Srimad Bhagavatam, and why was this taken up? And from where did Krishna Dwasa, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? Basically, this question is detailing the history of Bhagavatam, which will be discussed from this chapter 1.414 until chapter 7. Dividing that particular verse into four questions. The first question is: in what period Bhagavatam was written? At what place was this first begun? Why was this taken up? And from where did Vyasadev get inspiration to compile this literature? We saw the answer to the first question: in what period this particular work was written? And it was said that Vyasadev appeared at the end of Dwapara. That is the verse 1.4.14 was speaking about. When was he born? He was born towards the end of the Dwapara Yuga. After that, he should have written the also. It is pretty much towards the end of the Dwapara Yuga and just before the beginning of the Kali Yuga. And the next question was, at what place was this first begun? In the verse 15 of the chapter 4, it was said that on the banks of the river Saraswati. And why was this taken up? We saw last week elaborately that Vyasadev saw the future, how it's going to be in Kali Yuga. Seeing that future made him very concerned. And he saw the effect of Kali on people very clearly. That was explained in various verses. Based on that, the reason that he took up was out of his compassion for the people of Kali, he wanted to counter the effects of Kali and help people with spiritual advancement. That is the reason he compiled. And from where did Vyasadev get inspiration to compile this literature? That question is going to be answered in chapter 5. The previous questions were answered, hinted upon in the briefly in the previous chapter. Now the fourth question: from where did Vyasadev get inspiration to compile this literature? That's what Bhagavatam is describing in detail this in this chapter. And that inspiration that of Narada Muni guided Vyasadev to write this particular literature. We can divide this chapter into two major sections. One in which Narada Muni is conversing with Vyasadev and giving him a diagnosis of his particular situation. What's the problem? And he also gives the solution. His diagnosis and prescription is the first section, which like thematically seeing the verses may be jumbled around. However, thematically, this is one section of the chapter which deals with. In order to give him inspiration, he speaks about his own personal life that he does between verses 23 and 31. Muni basically inquires and diagnoses and emphasizes the importance of describing Krishna's pastimes. And also, he re emphasizes that advice at the end of the chapter after speaking his personal life. He speaks his personal life to reinforce the potency of Krishna Katha, to reinforce in Dev's heart and how it is very important to hear Krishna Katha, and that's the solution to the problem of material life. In order to bring that out, he speaks his own personal life. And of course, there are, as we said, there are 40 verses. The first 7 verses speaks about, like, primarily focuses on Vyasadev's dissatisfaction and Narada Muni's, like, hints. He just hints upon where the problem could be lying. He invites Vyasadev to reflect. He doesn't directly say, he hints it because Vyasadev is very intelligent. He doesn't want to directly tell him. But the way he speaks is smart, that they say, what is that Hindi saying? Yeah, something like that. Like that, he just gives an indication to Vyasa where the problem could be lying. And after that, Vyasadev actually is shocked by that revelation because he already had an inclination, an indication in his heart, an intuition in his heart before Narada Muni arrived. And Narada Muni is hinting upon the same thing. He becomes surprised and or he becomes curious and wants to expand on that. He asks more about it. And Narada Muni very clearly establishes that to glorify the Lord is more important than just establishing morality in this world. Like just guiding people in terms of living according to moral principles is important. However, giving devotional inspiration is much more important than inspiration for living morally. And then, in order to reinforce how Krishna Katha does not depend upon any prerequisite to take effect in one's heart, he explains his own personal journey. And at the end, he reestablishes and summarizes to Vyasadev that devotion is the real cure for material life. Focus on that. This is like the quick overflow overview of the flow of the verse, and we will see in detail. Basically, now at this point of time, Dev has compiled all the Vedic literatures. He has divided the Puranas. I'm sorry, he has divided the Vedas into four, and he has compiled all the Puranas, and he has written Upanishads. And then he, in order to, because the Upanishads are cryptic, he wanted to clarify the purport of the Upanishad. He wrote Vedanta. However, even Vedra was difficult to comprehend. Then he wrote Itihas like Mahabharata. And after doing all of these things, that he was feeling dissatisfied. And at that time, he was thinking, oh, I have done everything within my capacity with proper attitude and intention and executed it well. Why am I still feeling dissatisfied? And Narada Muni, who's a spiritual master, guided by the Supreme Lord and the Paramatma, he recognized, oh, Vyasadeva is in difficulty. As a spiritual master, he makes his appearance. He visits Vyasadeva to uncover the root of his dissatisfaction. The first verse of this chapter says, the Sutta Goswami is explaining that, yes, what did Vyasadeva do as soon as Narada Muni arrived? Of course, he made him comfortably seated and offered him proper etiquettes, like proper worship and all of that. After that, Narada Muni was very smiling and then looks at Vyasadeva and then he says this. It's savage a little bit. A spiritual master is always has that right to behave like savage with the spiritual with this disciple. Here we see the same thing that he asks, oh, are you truly satisfied by identifying yourself with the body or mind in your quest for self-realization? I'm like, see that? There's like a slap in the face. Oh, are you satisfied identifying yourself with the body or mind in your quest for self-realization? Done. Like the conversation is already over. No more, nothing more is required actually. Here and then he goes on. You can also see these verses in a very sarcastic mood. Means basically in Hindi they saw basically he's like teasing Vyasadeva in one sense, but it is done from a place of deep compassion. And also Vyasadeva has that surrender. The Muni has that relationship with his disciple who is surrendered. He takes that independence, he takes that freedom to actually chastise his disciple, but it is done in a such a thorough, such a gentle and cultured way. Means some devotees are like that. When you speak to them, you don't know whether they glorified you, they chastised you, they teased you. You don't understand. If you're not intelligent, you think you will walk away thinking, oh, they just glorified me. But they may be like actually hinting that, oh, don't be stupid. But they have such a nice way of saying things that you never know. Oh, did they chastise me? Did they actually point out something? Did they glorify me? They are like, I've seen like such smart devotees. I don't want to take their names. But yeah, I've seen some seniors, like they can be, you have to be careful when they speak to really understand the import of what they are saying. If we are egoistic, then we will just think, oh, we will just grab their glorification and reinforce our false ego and we'll walk away. But they actually give a very nice, important lesson for our life hidden in between that glorification. Similarly, here Namuni is also saying, we are telling Vyasadeva that you have deeply inquired, studied thoroughly, and composed the great Mahabharata, filled with all kinds of Vedic wisdom. What does he mean? Oh, means if you see the Sanskrit is even more funny because in English you cannot really bring it out. If you see the verse in Sanskrit, he uses the word jig. He says, oh, your jignasa is all like fully over because you have written so much about so many things. And he uses the word sarvam. He says, in this world, whatever one can gain, you have written about everything within the You did not spare anything. In Mahabharata, you have written all kinds of stuff. Basically, his way of chastising him is you have just written about anything and everything. Sarvam, you have completely, like, he glorifies Mahabharata. It's filled with all kinds of Vedic sequences. That all kinds of Vedic sequences can be meaning like you just did not focus on one thing and you went all over the place. You just distracted and spaced out. You wrote about everything. But it's a way of glorifying. He's saying, oh, amazing literature, that Mahabharata, it has everything. That means it's spaced out, it's not focused in another way. And he says, oh, you have very thoroughly studied about Brahma knowledge. Brahman. You have given deep knowledge about this Brahman. And Atmanam, then why are you okay. Shochasi means why are you lamenting? You have done such great works as Mahabharata, where you have written about everything. Anything with this under the sun is is there in Mahabharata. And above the sun, you have covered Brahman effulgence also. That you have done perfect work on a study of Brahman, impersonal Brahman, and you have given also the knowledge that is required to, that is derived from the impersonal realization and how to achieve that impersonal realization. Then why are you lamenting? And Prabhu, means he also uses the word Prabhu. Sometimes when somebody like, a senior wants to chastise, they'll show extra respect. Here the same thing he is also showing. Oh, my dear Prabhu, why are you have done, you have given everything under the sun in Mahabharata, and you have given knowledge about the Brahman effulgence and the knowledge. You are Brahman realized, and you have given other people what is the knowledge that is derived from Brahman realization and how to achieve that Brahman realization through Vedanta Sutra and all of this. To that extent, the name of the sutra is also Brahma Sutra sometimes, because it is speaking so much about the subject matter of Brahman, that it's sometimes called as Brahma Sutra by the Advaita. So he's saying, okay, you have done all of these things, then why are you so lamenting? And Vyasadev is saying, that's exactly my question. That's what I'm asking. Like, why am I actually dissatisfied? Everything you said about me is true. He might be thinking, yeah, I've done great work. I've done Mahabharata. I've spoken, I've given the Vedanta, which is the essence of all Vedanta knowledge. He can think it that way also. Yes, I have done perfectly. Of course, Vyasadeva is a great personality. He's being put into this situation in order to bring out the glories of Bhagavatam. There is no other reason. Because if at all Narada Muni told everything is useless and Bhagavatam is the only thing, you have to re-edit your current Bhagavatam and make it fully filled with Krishna's pastimes. The ideal was he should have burnt every other literature. He should not have propagated further like Vedas and Mahabharata. It should have been just eliminated, all of them. If they are not useful, then why keep them? But that's not the case. There is still all the Vedic literatures, all kinds of Puranas, Upanishads, Mahabharata, everything is still existing. If this chapter was to Jana say, okay, Bhagavatam is the only thing that everybody requires, then they should have abolished. At this point, it was very easy to stop the delineation. He could have told all the sages, all that you have to study is only Bhagavatam, nothing else. That did not happen. Because this pastime is not to say that everything else should be removed from or should not be studied. But if you have adhikar for pure bhakti, which is of course everybody has, however, if you are in touch with a bona fide spiritual master and if you become qualified for pure bhakti, then you should not need anything else. Everything else is going to disturb you. And in general, also, people may be distracted, but if they take to Bhagavatam, it will be very easy for them to focus. But still, all the Puranas, Mahabharata, everything is left intact because there will always be people of that adhikar who would need that help. Just because we have come to PhD, we cannot say, Abhi kindergarten ki zarurat nahi, there is no need of kindergarten, abolish all of these things. No. Those things have to remain because there will always be people of that adhikar who would need that level of help. The matured people are those people who understand what is the ultimate, at the same time does not dismantle the lower rungs of the ladder. That's what Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter. Don't bewilder the intelligence of the ignorant people. At the same time, here what is happening between Vyasadeva and Narada Muni is basically he's saying, okay, you gave something for all the other levels of people. What about somebody who has complete full adhar for just pure bhakti? What have you given for them? And where are you bringing all these people? You have just built so much rungs. But where is the top layer? What are you bringing them to? You have to bring them to pure bhakti, but you have not done anything to actually establish pure bhakti very clearly. You have become distracted in building the lower rungs that you have forgotten to actually build the building actually in which they will come and live. So that is why, that is the reason this chapter is, this chapter is not like because Vyasadeva was really ignorant or anything in what he was doing. This is also a way that how Arjuna was put into confusion in Bhagavad Gita, that we all can have the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, here Narada Muni is put into confusion. Vyasadeva is put into this kind of a bewilderment, that Bhagavatam's glory can be revealed. That is why he continues here. Vyasadeva says, "Yeah, I have done everything perfectly, but why am I then not peaceful? I'm not able to understand. You are really great. Please tell me what is the root of my dissatisfaction, because you are born of Brahma. You know all the mysteries. And you're also very connected with the Supreme Lord, who is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of everything. And he is beyond the three modes. And you being connected with the Supreme Lord, you're also beyond the three modes. And like the Lord Paramatma, you also know all the every corner of this world, because the spiritual master is an external manifestation of the Paramatma, Chaitya Guru. Here, Narada Muni is considered as good as Paramatma because he can travel anywhere and knows everything. And he's giving an example how, like the sun can travel through all realms, and like the air, you can enter everywhere, anywhere, and inside anyone's heart, you can understand just by your ability. You are as all pervading as the super soul. Please identify the shortcoming in my practice. If at all Narada Muni says, I don't know, then he's saying no. There is no way you can say, I don't know, because you are as good as the super soul, and you are like the sun, you are like the air. You can go anywhere, you can understand anyone's heart. Please help me understand where is the root cause of my dissatisfaction. I understood I am dissatisfied, but I have done everything within the best of my capacity. Please, it's not within my ability to understand this. You have to dispel this. Going back from here, we are going to see little more in detail. This chapter is different from how I dealt with the chapter 4. This chapter has a lot. We will go slowly, and I'll take verse by verse, and we will also see the Sanskrit if needed. Pull out your Bhagavatam soft copy or a hard copy, refer to Prabhupada's translation and the Sanskrit verses as we go. And I may have extra points than what is there in Prabhupada's translation. Extra points means different perspectives, because it is from Vishnu Chakra Thakur or other commentaries. It's not that we are contradicting, it's just an additional perspective. Vyasadev is basically saying, oh Brahma, oh son of Brahma, all that you have said about me is true, but still I feel empty inside. I ask you again, what is that root cause of my dissatisfaction? The contextual thought is, Vyasa had already heard Narada Muni explain this. In the second verse, Narada Muni has already given the hint, but it was shocking that Vyasadev, oh my God, that means everything I've done is like useless. It's just completely shakes the work or contribution of his whole life. Just one sentence that was heavy. He wants to listen. He wants to understand it better. That is another reason he is asking more. So that it was surprising and uncomfortable that he needed it to be confirmed clearly again. So sometimes we think, right, am I hearing? Is he thinking what I think he is thinking? That kind of a confusion Vyasadeva is going on. That and Vyasadev's position is implied also. Though Vyasadeva praises him as someone with unlimited comprehension, so immediately when you glorify a devotee, a very advanced devotee, that you are great, they will always recoil like a tortoise going inside the shell. You would always, if you want a advanced devotee to accept your praise, it has to be always in connection with the grace of his spiritual master and Krishna. If we ever glorify an advanced devotee without the context, without independent of that context, they will always feel not accept that. That is why he first said, oh, you are great. He thought, oh, okay, now Narada Muni is not going to accept this glorification. That's why he connects him immediately to the Supreme Lord. Oh, you are a devotee of the Supreme Lord. That is why you are great. He immediately gives that connection. Now Narada Muni cannot even deny that. If you tell a proper disciple, oh, Prabhupada has poured his unlimited mercy on you, you are great. Because of that, they will never be able to say no. Yes, because Prabhupada's grace is true. That their greatness is, they will always be happy to acknowledge, yes, my greatness is because of Prabhupada's unlimited grace. That will be an easy way of accepting grace. Of course, if a devotee is not refined, they may be happy to take the. That is the difference between an advanced devotee and an advancing devotee. Is that a progressing devotee may sometimes grab onto glories or glorifications independent of the context of their connection with the Supreme Lord. And that is why here in the commentary it is said, why is he suddenly speaking about his connection with the Supreme Lord? Because otherwise he may not accept that. That's why Vyasadeva immediately connects him. You are like the super soul. You can go anywhere and everywhere. You are a great devotee. That is why everything is possible. All your tendencies, all your abilities are coming because you are the greatest, one of the greatest devotees of the Supreme Lord. And please, you tell me what is my lacking in my execution of my duties. Vyasa wasn't exaggerating either because he genuinely recognized that Narada's wisdom came from his deep devotion and realization of the Supreme Lord. And he also trusted fully Narada Muni's judgment. He was not just, anyway, I know, but I'll also get it confirmed by no. He was genuinely asking Narada Muni. And we also see Narada Muni's bold diagnosis, straight, cut to the chase. Like he's not going to say, "Oh, Narada, you have done much great." Yeah, he told all that before, but in verse 8, it's super straight. He just goes, here, darshanam means philosophy. One of the famous darshans, like there are 6 darshans you have heard from Prabhupada many times. Prabhupada says there are 6 darshans in the Vedic philosophy. The sixth Vedanta Sutra is considered as the pinnacle of all philosophies. And it is like a crown on Vyasadev's head. But Mahabharata is more like a kind of a contribution which he cannot be proud in a scholarly circle. In a scholarly circle, he cannot say, I'm author of Mahabharata. No, they'll be like, they'll not care for it. There, his glory is, I'm the author of Vedutra. Then everybody, wow, that's amazing. Because in scholarly circles, what is glorified is not Mahabharata. What is glorified is Vedutra. That is why Darshanam, he uses this word. You have written so much big philosophy and you think yourself the greatest philosopher, but that philosophy which does not speak about the glories of the Supreme Lord is Khilam, is useless. Straight uses the word Darshanam, but basically it touches the core of Vyasadev's heart. The best of your contribution is useless because it does not speak about the glories of the Supreme Lord directly. And there cannot be any more direct chastisement than this. It's straight. The words are also chosen very carefully. Every word has a deep implication because they have a personal relationship. Yasho Bhagavato Amalam. Thus, the spotless glories of the Supreme Lord are not touched upon. Your contributions are useless. Again, the imbalance in Vyasadev's writings, he is speaking about that. Although Vyasa created immense literature, Vedic literatures, the 6 darshanas, the Mahabharata, the Veda, none of them directly or fully proclaimed Krishna's pure devotional glories. And Narada Muni directly emphasizes that this is the missing piece, that this is what you have not done. And he also says, oh, best of the scholars, you have extensively discussed morality and human goals, but you did not give equal attention to glorifying the Son of. That is also the diagnosis, part of the diagnosis. Muni, very clearly, he is not saying any other word. He is clearly using the word Vasudev. Why is he using Vasudev? Because that is why. Who is the one who is glorified in Bhagavatam most? This again proves it is actually Krishna. Who's why? That is why in the 3rd chapter also we saw that Bhagavatam establishes Krishna as the supreme person. Here Narada is giving the same idea. You have not fully glorified Vasudev. He could have used any name, but he is clearly using Son. You are supposed to glorify the supreme Lord Krishna, but you did not actually. It's not a very generic. Bhagavatam subject matter is Krishna. Again, this is establishing that particular point, that how Bhagavatam's main, what do you call, sadhya, the ultimate object that is to be glorified through Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna. And that's what here Vyasadeva is clearly saying. Oh, great sage, you have broadly described everything. 4 principles, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, you have very elaborately described. You have not glorified the Son. His glories you have not. It means proper translates are constantly described. Not here and there. Vyasadeva say, oh no, who says I have put Krishna's glories in this place, in that place, and here? Nita, you have not constantly described it. You have not dedicated the scripture just for exclusively for that. You have used like pickle here and there. It is like you go to someone's party. Of course, it should be an Indian party if you want to eat pickle. If you want, if you go to an Indian wedding, they will make you sit. If you go to South India, they'll make you sit and put a banana leaf and start serving. Imagine if the person comes and puts this much pickle in your plate and then keeps this much rice, and you'll be like, "What the hell? Like, where I cannot eat this much pickle and this much rice." It should be the opposite. Say that's what exactly Vasudev did. He did this much, and Krishna's glory is this much. And Vasudev is saying, don't even tell me that here and there you spoke about Krishna. You have to you should be constantly describing Krishna everywhere in that scripture. Don't tell me that you here and there you put some words of Krishna's glories. No, that's not enough. Then that's why when if Vyasadev is thinking, oh, but isn't Krishna subtly present in every Vedas, every word of Vedas I compiled? Yeah, yes, perhaps subtly, but subtle hints are not enough. People are stupid. If you just tell them subtly, they will just, they will just not get it, because their idea is, their focus is on Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. They will only focus on that. They will not take your subtle hints about Krishna's glories. You focus so much on morality and the four goals of life that Krishna was overshadowed. That is why he is going on to say, means what is the use of that scripture? Like he is denouncing those scriptures which does not describe Krishna fully in such harsh words, in order to set and make a point actually. Because Vedic literature are not like a place of crows, but if you have become Shuddha Bhakti Adhikar, if you have got the Adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti, then those scriptures are not used. Krishna himself says, please give up the Vedavad, means give up all that, cross beyond the three modes. Give up all that literature which is within the three modes. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita also. That's why he says, using the sharp words that, can you see my presentation now?
Yes,
Okay.
we could always see it.
Okay. A harsh comparison that he does is, he says those words that does not glorify Krishna, even if they are poetic and refined, they are like garbage dumps where crows gather. Is it's one of the harshest ways to actually, if somebody is an author and you say all that you wrote is like trash that only attracts crows, it's only insult to the author who wrote, it's an insult to the work, and it's an insult to his audience. And he does, he is not sparing anybody, neither the author nor the audience nor the literature, saying this is like a garbage dump for crows. True spiritual seekers like swans actually avoid them. They won't even go near them. Vyasadev may say, no, but those topics, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, they are all valuable. Imagine a society which does not have dharmic values, which does not live by moral principles. How can that society can actually take to spiritual practice? Where is the foundation for which for people to accept a higher culture of full marana, a dedication to Krishna? How is it possible without having a society which follows these principles of Dharma, Artha, and Moksha, especially the moral principles? Aren't they still valuable? Yeah, Narada Muni's response is, they may have relative value, but when they obscure Lord Krishna's glories, they miss the point. You must write something where Krishna is at the very center. Have you ever seen, if you, I don't know why again I'm giving a marriage example, because they are the ones which comes to my mind. You ever go to an Indian wedding, and then there's so many family members standing around the bride and the bridegroom for a picture. Sometimes the bride and the bridegroom get covered. They're like much, they're literally hiding somewhere. Like you have to tell, no, make them visible, like they have to be seen. Similarly here, like the Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha is maybe valuable, but they are relatively very important, but they cannot obscure Lord's glories. That's why Krishna is saying, Narada Muni is saying, oh, you must write something where Krishna is at the center and he is not covered by them. He is around him, they all have some beauty. Without connection with Krishna, all of them will be lost. That is why then he goes on to explain many verses to show that just Krishna without anything, even if it is with flaws, it's okay. In that mood, he is going to speak the further verses. He says that even though some literature may be compiled with grammatical mistakes, there may be in some deficiencies. However, if that literature praises the Supreme Lord fully with a lot of devotion, then that literature has the power to revolutionize humanity. And great souls embrace them without just thinking, oh, this has this grammatical mistake. No, great souls will overlook those deficiencies because they understand here is Krishna's glories, and that's what is the main substance which is required for delivering this world. And Prabhupada used this particular verse as his pitch point in his introduction. He pitched his book saying, yes, there may be so many great scholars of Sanskrit and Bhagavatam outside the Sampradaya, inside the Sampradaya, both. Great Sanskrit scholars who know all the commentaries and who might be writing elaborate works. However, he says, even if this particular literature has some deficiencies, my hope is that if anyone takes to it sincerely, because he tried to present Krishna in the center, like there is nothing else which is covering Krishna in Prabhupada's books. Rather, Krishna covers everything. He just pushes everything outside. Prabhupada, Krishna everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita also. Even if the verse is speaking about karma yoga, if it uses the word yoga, Prabhupada will say it is bhakti. He is on the other end because he actually without worrying about, because it is not easy for a scholar to be seen by other scholars as stupid. I'm using a heavy word, but so many people actually blame Prabhupada. How can he write, like, how can he translate this word as bhakti? Krishna is not speaking about bhakti. It's not that Prabhupada did not know. If you and me, with our meager intelligence, can understand that Krishna is speaking about karma yoga, Prabhupada very clearly understood that, because he referred Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentary and wrote the whole thing. It's not that he did not understand. He knows that we won't understand if he only gives technicality. He did not care whether we understood Bhagavad Gita technically or not. He wanted us to be Krishna's devotees. And he had this faith. If this poor soul becomes Krishna's devotee, all the knowledge that needs to come will eventually come. Other teachers can always give other things. He wanted to awaken bhakti in our hearts. He did not care for anything else when he wrote his commentaries. This conditioned soul may only turn one page and read one purport in his whole lifetime. The conclusion of the Prose philosophy should be present in that page. That's all he cared for. He did not care for anything, anyone to recognize him as a scholar. And that's why Prabhupada used this very verse in his introduction and said, even if my book has 1,000 mistakes, it does not matter. I have tried on the order of my spiritual master to present Krishna. If anyone takes this sincerely, their lives will be revolutionized. And Prabhupada proved it. He created a revolution all over the world with his first volume, first canto, 3 volumes. That's all he had. He did not even write Bhagavad Gita. Usually today we want to write beginner books. We write many things. We will start with basic things. But Prabhupada straight Bhagavatam. He did not think, oh, let me write Bhagavad Gita and come. No. He came with Bhagavatam because he had that faith. Okay, if I present Krishna's glories, people's heart will be transformed. And that is what here Muni's conviction also. Then when Prabhupada wrote his commentary, he wrote in the same mood of Narada Muni. He did not worry about anything. He went by the advice of Narada Muni given in this chapter. That's why Vyasadev was thinking, but don't people need to be purified first before they can appreciate Krishna? Narada Muni's response is, no, Krishna's name and glories are themselves the best of the purifiers you can find in this world. There is no other better purification than actually that what Krishna's name and glories can offer. Don't wait to introduce him. Don't purify people before devotion, because devotion will purify them. Don't think I'll purify them and then they will take to bhakti. And Prabhupada always followed this. He came into amidst the hippies, but he did not think, oh, they should become qualified enough to hear about Krishna's glories. No. In the initial lectures, Prabhupada is speaking about Lord Chaitanya Goswami, Lord Krishna lifting over, then everything. An analytical preacher will doubt it. Will this work? But Prabhupada proved it. We may have our own reasons for doing how we do. There may be value to it. However, here Narada Muni is glorifying Bhagavatam's position very clearly that yes, don't think Krishna cannot purify people. However, if people are antagonistic, that also we need to take. He's not asking to present to people who are atheistic. This is people who can actually take to Krishna if presented directly. Because Rupa Goswami again says, if somebody is a dveshi, then don't speak to him. It's a sign of Amakari also. If somebody is a dveshi, no, then you don't need to present it like in a way that it will disturb them more and make them more antagonistic to Krishna. That is the reason Mahabharata continues to exist. All the Puranas continues to exist. All the other Vedic literature continues to exist. They did not extinguish that. Burn everything else. Only Bhagavatam. One book. That did not happen. The rest of the things were protected and preserved intact, because there will be always people for that level of adhikar. However, if we just always worry about that, if we won't present Krishna, then people who are ready for that, we will miss them. They will not be benefited. That is why Narada Muni continues to the next verse. He says, okay, even knowledge that liberates is unattractive if it lacks affection for the infallible Lord. What then is the use of duty? Selfish or selfless, done without devotion? Okay, we should go to Sanskrit because these verses are important. There is no point in completing the chapter without reading these verses. We better not complete Bhagam but read these verses. Verse 10 is now.
Sorry to interrupt you like this, but did you change? Because now we can't see the Sanskrit.
Okay, just a minute. Can you see the verse now?
Yes.
Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, which alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. These purports are really powerful. You can please take your time to read 10, 11, even if you don't have time for other purpose, 10, 11, 12, especially verses from 1 to 22, they're amazing. Of course, afterwards also very important, but at least 10, 11 is super nice. On the other hand, that literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation. He says, even it's not of the same category, it's not of the same nature, because they are touching a transcendental subject, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed or heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. And this is a verse which Narada Muni uses as a very strong argument. Because Naishkarmyam means Brahman knowledge, the knowledge which Jnana yogis use, where there is no karma, because you have crossed beyond the adhikar for karma. Means in Jnana Yoga, you should not work. That is a process of Jnana Yoga. If you want to practice Jnana Yoga, first you take sannyas, you give up all work because everything is illusion. So you give up illusion, then you can think about reality. Naishkarmyam. Naishkarmyam means there is a Jnana Yogic path where there is no fruitive work. Even that Naishkarma is not attractive. It's not attractive. It's not actually, does not look well. When Achyutam, when it is not speaking about, when it is bhava means not just speaking about Achyuta, when it cannot produce bhava for Achyuta, when it cannot produce devotion to Krishna, when it is devoid of devotion to Krishna, Achyuta, Varjitam, then even that knowledge which is beyond the three modes of material nature, Naishkarmya knowledge is above the three modes. But even if it is beyond the three modes, if that knowledge does not produce devotion to Krishna in one's heart, it's not like, it does not look well. Even if it is free of material modes. Niranjana means, Anjan means touch, means being touched by something, being applied by something, Anjan. But Niranjan, it is completely free from the three modes of material nature. Still, that jnana does not look well. Then what to speak of karma yoga or karma kanda or some karma yoga? What is the use of all of those things? Because knowledge that is beyond all of the three modes is also not looking good. What is the use of this karma yoga, which is a cause of misery? Without utilizing that work for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, what is the use of work? Because it is only going to create more trouble. Abhadram. Then we'll go back to the presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, Prabhu.
That is why Vyasadev was saying that without bhakti, these things are not, your vision is clear. You have a perfect vision and your character is pure. To uplift people, first you should deeply meditate on Lord's pastimes. You meditate on Lord's pastimes, enter them fully, and then you describe them. Because only then people can be benefited. The Sanskrit is, Bhavan means, Bhavan is a very respectful way of saying you. His disciple, but he's saying Bhavan. Very respectfully, he's saying, you are very fortunate. Bhavan Amrik, you have perfect vision. You are fully purified. Satya means you speak truth. You don't speak falsity. So Dhritavrataha, you are very fixed in your spiritual qualities. That means the various pastimes of the supernatural activities of the Supreme Lord, that just don't think. Samadhi, you completely absorb yourself. Samadhi, you think repeatedly the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and then actually Akhila, for the sake of liberating everyone, Akhila Bandha, everyone who's bounded in this material world, in order for them to be liberated, please engage in that samadhi. This samadhi will be described in 7th chapter. This samadhi will be very elaborately described in 7th chapter. Currently, it will not go. We won't go into that samadhi. What samadhi he did, because here is a clear instruction of his spiritual master, and we will see as they followed it. Already he had one vision in which he saw the troubles of Kali Yuga. He thought, oh, people are really suffering. Let me do something. In his compassion, he went, like, he diluted everything because he really wanted to help people. He thought, let me help anyone and everyone in some or other. Sometimes we also feel like when it's an emergency, you don't think what is appropriate, not appropriate. If somebody is drowning, you don't think of anything. Oh, who is this person? You just help them. He saw that Kali Yuga vision and he got bewildered. Oh my God, people are going to suffer much. Let me help them. And he thought, let me write Mahabharata, let me write all the way Puranas. He just thought everything that can help people. So that is why here he's saying no. Don't just go all over the place. Go to your samadhi and repeatedly hear Krishna's pastimes and describe them then. Don't just go all over the place. That is why he is instructing him, and this samadhi will come in the 7th chapter. He is giving an explanation. If you describe anything other than Krishna, then those things will create more disturbance for people. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate from in the vision from the Lord, whatever you don't see in your samadhi and you end up describing them, it is only going to create problem for people, because there will be so many names and forms and results that you have described in Mahabharata. There is Nala also, there is everybody is there in Mahabharata. If you read some of those stories there, you might be wondering, okay, what's the point here? What are you coming to say? Because he has spoken for different adhikar. That is not for bhakti adhikar. There are too many names and forms and results that people can get completely distracted. Even in sometimes like speaking to audience, like if you say anything which is unnecessary, they will start focusing on that. I remember once a talk was there, the speaker and introduced themselves there that they also do Reiki, but they gave a whole bhakti lecture. This was for new people. After the lecture, I was sitting there. This person came and told, I heard you do Reiki. And then the whole question was about Reiki. But for the 1 year, he did not speak anything about Reiki. He was speaking about soul and he was speaking about Bhagavad Gita, everything. But this person came all the way just to ask about Reiki. I don't think anything entered in for them. The one hour they were just thinking about their life problems and how Reiki, they were looking for someone to do Reiki. And they were asking, is Reiki good enough for my problems? And this devotee was visibly frustrated. I just told Reiki in the passing, but this whole part, this is the person. That is where they are able to connect. Maybe it's good that at least this person came forward. They can continue to connect them and bring to the level of bhakti. However, too many things actually also ends up disturbing people. That is what here Narada Muni's prescription, that please write something that can truly liberate people. You should enter somebody and directly see the pastimes of the Supreme Lord again and again. The moral teachings that you have given will be misused by people. People know what they want. They will take what they want from everything. If you give a buffet, they will take what they want. They won't go by, if you keep some healthy sabji and on the side you keep pav bhaji, people probably will take pav bhaji and leave behind the quinoa salad. Of course, if it was a particular audience, if you have, they may not go for the most healthiest thing if you give them a choice. So the moral teachings you gave will be misused by people still attached to their desires. They'll claim to be religious while ignoring the very warnings you have written. In the name of religion, they will do everything which is against the religion. And religion, when not rooted in devotion, becomes dangerous. And this is the problem with religious scriptures, because people can kill, loot, violate women, kill children, old people, abolish a civilization in the name of a religious book. It's very difficult. What kind of motivation a person will take from a book when too many things are there? That is why he's saying, oh, religion when not rooted in devotion can become dangerous. If literally also can become dangerous, or at best it can become distracting. Vyasa's well-meant instructions could be twisted unless clearly connected to bhakti, because the world actually what it's looking for is also direct knowledge. We can help them in many ways, but there should be a place where they can actually go and get the real thing. Only the truly learned can grasp the all attractive. Ordinary people cannot understand him unless you describe his activities in an accessible and heartfelt way. The next verse is that trying to enjoy is very natural for people. However, by nature, everyone in this world wants to enjoy, and you have only given them more reasons to continue to do that in a very religious way. Now they won't even feel shameful for what they are doing, because they have a religious token stamp on it. They will think, oh, now Vyasadev has told, who are you? I read this in Mahabharata. What's your problem? The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Therefore, please describe about him. Therefore, those who are not well situated due to material attachment should be shown proper ways. They don't know what's good. You are the senior. You should actually help them. You should not more distract them. In that connection, if Vyasadev says, okay, you are saying that all my teachings on Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, people can twist it. Even if I speak about bhakti, people can still misunderstand those descriptions and misuse them too, right? Oh, Krishna danced with many gopis. I'll also dance with them. Krishna stole the clothes of the women who were taking bath. Krishna stole butter. He told lies. They can also misunderstand all these direct leelas of Krishna and misuse them, which also happens, which is true. That is why Vyasadeva is saying, no, And see, Vyasadev is not approaching this from this perspective of what I just said. I just gave an example for how people can also misunderstand Krishna's pastimes. But in this context, that is not the right understanding. In this context, what Vyasadev means is that if people think dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and all not necessary, and if they give up, if there will be a chaos in society. We all have experienced it. We become enthusiastic about bhakti and we overlook our health, we overlook we hurt our family. Sometimes we take certain decisions which create damage later in life. Sometimes they are irreversible also. What if the whole society abandons all these basic structures and they step beyond their adhikar and they won't be able to keep it up? The whole society will go into a chaos. So do you understand, do you understand, Gurudev, like what kind of chaos that can lead the society to? Narada Muni says no. What is the problem? Even if someone gives up varnashram and takes up to bhakti and eventually falls down, it's much better than perfectly following varnashram. He just gives a slap on the face of varnashram with this verse. It is very important because this same Narada Muni will speak about varnashram in Canto 7 elaborately. He will say it is necessary because the context here is not to denounce varnashram, not to reject varnashram. The context here is to glorify bhakti. He's taking to the extreme. He's saying even if someone prematurely gives up everything and takes to devotion and eventually falls from devotion too, as your argument is there, even because of lack of varnashram support, he fails. He just cannot keep up his senses. He actually falls down from bhakti also, and varnashram is also lost. Means like he did not get bhakti, he lost his varnashram also. Still he says, what is the problem? He has developed attachment to Krishna. That's all it matters. As long as we have awakened our, it's a complete different topic, but in the passing, that if we have awakened attraction to hear about Krishna, we are safe. Even if we fall down, there is no problem. All that we have to make sure is, have I awakened my taste for hearing about Krishna? That's all is our duty. After that, you have no opportunity to escape from Krishna's hold. The moment we have awakened a taste for hearing about Krishna, our case is sealed. So that's all the spiritual master has to do. Has to awaken the taste in the heart of a student. And then Krishna will continue to guide. It's between Krishna and that particular soul. That's why he's saying, even if someone prematurely leaves their duties to worship the Lord and fails, there is no real loss. But if someone, on the contrary, if someone perfectly fulfills all their varnashram duties and has not awakened their devotion, has not taken to devotion, what is the gain? The only gain is they will come back to again enjoy or suffer their reactions. Life and from they cannot break away from the cycle of life and death and birth and death. Excuse me. Trying and failing in bhakti is still progress, but success without devotion is useless. Success in varnashram, there is no success in varnashram without devotion. But even for that sake, perfect following of what I meant success there is perfect following of varnashram without devotion is still empty. I'm getting okay. It's 10. We will give me few more minutes. We will logically conclude in verse 22. Just few more verses. Seek what truly matters. That's why he's telling, what is the use? People get they perfectly follow their occupational duty, but if they are non-devotees, what do they get anyway? It's much better to, even if that person is falling down from bhakti, it's okay. Even if he is if he is immature, he has not attained prema, still it's fine. He says in continuing that argument, he is saying intelligent people actually will strive for only that thing that is beyond, that is not available within these three worlds. From this world to the highest planet, they will look for that thing which can actually deliver them. If that person is intelligent, though, that person should endeavor. Then for what? He should not endeavor for because that how we don't plan for getting misery, similarly sukha also will come, what is mind for us. Don't just work on that level. Please look for what is beyond this, what you can get beyond, what is not even available in the three worlds. Look for that, and that is possible when one takes to devotional service. And he is again glorifying bhakti. Don't think because Vyasadev, you brought this topic of falling down. Do you think a person who falls down, a devotee who has awakened his taste for Krishna, hearing about Krishna, if he falls down, he becomes like a karmi? No. A person falling from varnashrama and a person falling from devotion, they are not same. To make that point, he quotes again this verse. He says, a devotee may occasionally remember material things, may even have, may fall, but they will never become like a karmi. Once someone has tasted love for Krishna, they cannot but remember that. He will give a little bit of this example, not in the same context. He says how a devotee once experiencing Krishna will never be able to forget. That will also come in Narada Muni's personal life. Krishna will give once darshan and then say, oh no, wait for more. That will also, he will speak about his personal life. But here in this context, he is not speaking about that. He is speaking more about someone who falls. My dear, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down, somehow or other, we may think, oh, if bhakti has come, why will he fall down? Somehow or other, a weakness is there in a practicing devotee. Reason ki somehow or other, for any reason, he might be overwhelmed. For some reason, he has fallen down. He certainly does not undergo material existence like others, like karmis. No, his suffering is specially orchestrated by Krishna. He'll sometimes probably suffer more than others because it is Krishna's mercy. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. Some or other, Krishna will guide this person back to his lotus feet. That is between Krishna and him. Even if he falls down, don't judge him. He is not falling down like any other person. And suddenly he takes a very philosophical gear. From here, he was giving such personal examples and devotional glories, but that line of thought is over. Now he is giving another line of thought to convince Vyasadev. That's why the gear is changed and goes very philosophical now. And this verse is another proof that the philosophy that Chaitanya Prabhu gave is not new. It's Bhagavatam philosophy. He came back to establish Bhagavat's philosophy. This verse is a clear philosophy of that the Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead. Wow, it is not Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead is himself with this cosmos. He is a Veda. He is this cosmos and still is aloof from it. Veda. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanates. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. Thoda elaborate kar dena. I'm just telling you this synopsis. Please elaborate on this. You know that the Lord is, from him everything comes, and he is everything, but he is also different from everything. And that is why, please. And then he is giving, in the next verse, there is even a very important message is there. So this verse, multiple acharyas translate multiple different ways. We are going to see Prabhupada, and also we are going to see other commentaries. One thing, he is first of all directly acknowledging the avatar. You are a plenary part of Paramatma, of the Supreme Lord. He is saying, you are Parasya, that Supreme Lord's Palam. You are an avatar of the Supreme Lord. You have come for this particular purpose. And Amogadruk, you have a perfect vision because you are the Kalam. You yourself can know the Supreme Personality of Godhead very well. I have only given you a synopsis because you know everything, because you are Paramatma. Although you are birthless, you have come, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of, for what sake you have come? Shiva, for the well-being of this world. Do something. Ganana means counting. Tam means recount the pastimes of Mahabhava, translates as of the Supreme Lord. Mahabhava, who is Maha, is the Supreme Lord. But Vishnu commentaries say that he is saying, describe those pastimes which can actually produce Mahanubhava in the heart of the people. It's not Mahabhava. Mahabhava belongs to Radharani. Mahanubhava means make them the followers of Srimati Radharani. Speak those pastimes that you can only describe. Speak those pastimes that can actually give the highest knowledge of the, because without hearing about the Madhurya pastimes, one cannot become the follower of Mahanubhava. Is Radharani's mood. Here he is saying Mahanubhava means through that. Abhyudaya can also means past tense. Udaya can also means awaken. Abhyudaya can also mean perfectly awaken in the heart of people who are listening to this, your narrations. Write philosophy in such a way. Write the pastimes of the Lord in such a way, and write those pastimes that can actually awaken love for the Supreme Lord in the heart of those people who are hearing. If he says, no, how can I? No, you are Amogadruk. You have perfect vision. You have come for this purpose. What is the use of giving anything else? Yeah, you have come all this way, and you come and give the same thing what anybody else can give. What is the use? What do you call? Kalidas also has written a kavya. You also written Mahabharata. What is the big deal? A great poet also can write a kavya. But you have come, you should be able to write something that can actually awaken, that can give that highest thing that is not available in this world. Otherwise, what is the use of you being Paramatmana Kalam? You being the manifestation of the Supreme Lord? Give something which others cannot give. And that will be the Jagatas Shivaya, that will be the actual benefit. Here, this verse is where Bhagavatam is being born in the current version that we are reading. Because that is why Krishna's pastimes is included. That is why Raslila is included. That is why all the pastimes of Radharani is included. Because that only by hearing Bhagavatam, that Mahava will be awakened. This verse is the seed for the Bhagavatam. And this verse is also denotes that Bhagavatam belongs to Gaudiya. It is for Madhurya actually. The purpose is not anything else. The purpose that Narada Muni is saying Bhagavatam is to be read for the sake of awakening in the mood of is given for as a preparation for Srimad Mahaprabhu to come. The juxtaposition of Dwapara and Kali happens, the reverse happens because Krishna and Chaitanya want to come next to each other, closer to each other. If they come after 2 years, then the continuation will not be there. Krishna comes, performs his pastimes, record in Bhagavatam, and propagate it by Chaitanya. Plan has to be it has to be done very quickly. You cannot just give one yuga in between. Treta Yuga comes in between. Lord Ram sets a different mood, then it will become different. Then Krishna comes, engages us in pastimes, record it in and elaborate it and give a way to realize it through Prabhu's method. That's why the whole juxtaposition of that happens. And that's why you have come. Do something. Prepare for Chaitanya Prabhu to come. If you write all these things, then what will be the commentary that he will base his teachings on? Do the Lord's plan. Don't create your own plan. Write in a way that Radha and Krishna's pastimes can be understood. So that is why Narada Muni is urging Vyasadev not to just speak of God abstractly. Don't just speak about God abstractly. Don't just give pastimes and philosophy alone, but to vividly portray the zenith of love, the intimate personal relationship Krishna shares with his dear devotees, especially Sri Radharani. That is the reason that he wants him to edit. When you edit, know that when you edit, you should be editing for this purpose and it should achieve this purpose when you edit. Then that's why he's saying the wise agree that the perfection of all spiritual practice. This is also a very famous verse. That learned circles, great people have understood, positively concluded that the infallible purpose of jnana, tapasya, knowledge, sacrifice, the spiritual education, buddhi, the culture of knowledge, jnana, which is already covered. All of this should culminate or actually leads one to that level of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Do that. You have done everything. You have written Upanishads, you have written Vedanta, you have written Puranas, you have written Mahabharata, but you have forgot the purpose for all of that to exist. The purpose of austerity, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, charity, which you have elaborately described how to do in the other scriptures. You have written all of that, but purpose of all of that is to hear the Supreme Lord's glory. That you have missed. That is why he is saying, indirectly he is saying, idam intelligent people. So means you have done a stupid work. You have done everything, but you have forgotten that. That's why he is saying, Kavivir Nirupito. So very intelligent people have concluded that the purpose of all of this thing is speaking about the Supreme Lord's glories. Please do that. You have not done that. Please write a book in which there is exclusive glories of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, not just any pastime, that pastime which can actually give the highest possible achievement that the soul can get. The highest potential of the soul is to awaken the Madhuri. That should be possible through your literature. Write in such a way that is achieved. We stop here. Yeah, Krishna Prabhu. Yes, 15.20 establishes Achintya philosophy. 21 establishes Vyasa Avatar. 21 also establishes Bhagavatam's ultimate purpose is to speak about Radha Krishna's pastimes and to awaken that in that mood, devotion in that awaken in that mood of following Srimati Radharani. And also it puts a step forward for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. It also completes his purpose. Otherwise, imagine Bhagavatam did not have those pastimes. What will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leave us with? This chapter is one of the most important chapters for speaking about the glories of the Bhagavatam and understanding the importance of Bhagavatam.
Thank you for the beautiful explanation, Prabhuji. Very grateful.
Thank you, Prabhu. All the commentary, I'm just copy paste.
You're doing it wonderfully, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for that. Gausharan Prabhu, we had heard in multiple, I do not know multiple or how many, but with respect to Bhagavatam existing in different lokas and in different universes differently, does Vyasadev compile from those multiple Bhagavatams or does he compile from the incidents only with respect to this universe and the 28 Mahayuga cycles which have happened till now?
His samadhi is the source of his compilation. The pastimes that we are hearing from Sukadeva Goswami, they're not necessarily spoken by Vyasadev to Sukadeva Goswami, because his audience is Parikshit Maharaj, who is a king who's about to leave. He gives examples of kings, so many kings who had been cursed, so many kings who had renounced, so many kings who got who ruled, and all of these things, who had done even bigger things. If he thinks, oh, I controlled Kali, Priyavrat went on his chariot and made the plan, a whole thing like that. He gives extraordinary circumstances, and Ambarish tolerated his curse, or in this way, he gives examples which are relevant for Parikshit Maharaj. The principles are is shown in Samadhi. The details, according to as you said, within this particular 28 cycles of Divyuga that has passed, we see pretty much that. But we also, some of them may be like differently, but pretty much it seems like it is within the 28 Yuga cycles. But some future is also revealed, at least within this cycle, whatever future, that also is revealed. And also, we see that Vyasadev, what he told to Shukdev Goswami, we don't know. But surely it is predominantly Krishna's pastimes, because he was not interested in anything else. He could not be attracted by anything else. The only thing which could have attracted Swami was exclusively Krishna Katha. And he had added other things in order to lead Parikshit Maharaj, to prepare him, and use Parikshit Maharaj as an instrument for all of us to get prepared to achieve a level until Canto 9 that we can actually. Did I answer your question? I went all over the place.
You did not go all over the place. You answered the question for sure. Just to follow it up, basically, there is no mention with respect to Bhagavad either existing or else concepts from over there being included in this current version. Am I understanding it correctly?
Yeah, there is no mention of including it from other planets or anything. The principles, like what we spoke to, Narayan spoke to Narada, those principles are all included. Pastimes could be according to what we need, because the other planetary system may have other details which we may not be able to relate to. That's why the first 9 cantos usually is to purify our hearts, which is relevant to us and relatable for us.
Fair. I'm just going to take one more minute, sorry for that. Vyasadev understood. He is first of all Lord personified in the literary incarnation. He is also reminded by Narada, stating that you need to mention about Krishna's exclusive pastimes, that everybody is able to dwell in the mellow of Lord Krishna's pastimes, and go back to Godhead as to be part in his leelas eternally.
Yes.
That should be the goal of life, which he very exclusively mentions. I was wondering, why are there only 90 chapters in the Krishna book? Why isn't there a retail of every single day, every single hour of Krishna's pastimes, which will be an eternal meditation for us? Why is there a limit to the number of pastimes that we are being offered? If when there is so much of mellow, and when understands, recollects all of it, and Parikshit Maharaj has given a certain number of pastimes, been given a certain number of pastimes by Sukadeva Goswami. Why is that limited? I do understand that it is because of next 2.5 days wherein Parikshit Maharaj is being spoken about exclusively with respect to 10th canto. I do understand that. But why did Vyasadev constrain himself to only that much is my question.
As you already pointed out, one of the practical reasons of having only 7 days to complete the whole conversation, apart from that, spiritual realization is different from just information. Have you seen in India, there are these hand pumps, like green hand pumps. Sometimes for us to get water from it, we'll pour a bottle of water and then we will start pumping, and then it will bring out more water.
Yes.
They cannot replace our endeavor to spiritually realize Krishna's pastimes. But what they can give is a starter. But we would have to do an equation within our own heart, use that as a starter. And our own devotion is the ingredient from which Krishna can actually manifest what is the pastimes and mellows, and that you actually can connect with. It can be different for different individuals. What will be the exact flavor will be revealed in the heart. But this is more like a starter package. We have a yeast starter, but the ingredient is our own heart. We have to take this, put it in our heart and churn, and this has the ability to bring out the rest. Krishna will reveal the rest. In that sense, all the pastimes are like given, and a synopsis is given. But again, if we really are eager, then we need to actually purify our mind and hearts to that extent. And we need to be eager that Krishna can reveal the other things in our heart. Without that hard work, just having information also will not be enough, because Jiva Goswami has gone into much more detail in Gopal Champu. There is much more details in literatures have gone much further and given more details. Many other acharyas have given. But the problem is, to a blind man, however much paintings you can give, unless the capacity is to see, then they won't. Unless our heart has devotion, we'll not be able to see the details between these words also. Because an acharya gave that commentary for Mahanubhava, I'm able to come and speak as if I know everything here. But if they have not given me the commentary for Mahanubhava, I'll be like, Mahanubhava, and then I'll be going over that word. But that word has so much insight. And once they crack it open, then we can see many connections and with use our mega intelligence and bring in many other things. But for it takes it's all hidden in plain sight. Devotion is the key to unlock that. Within these verses also, there is a lot more than what we are currently able to understand. But devotion would require that. This is like a starter package, but this has all the ability to reveal everything else that we need to know. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I just missed something when you remember this line when you said something, what's more important than living morally is something else. Remember that in the beginning of the class? Something about
beginning of the class.
That's too far, right?
I know I can tell principally what I would have told. I may not be exactly able to remember and repeat. What is more important than living morally? Because of course we cannot say without morality, spirituality has no practical value. For in an exceptional case, we are saying, what is the use of living morally without devotion, without awakening love for Krishna? However, it's not that devotees can live immorally. It will not be possible. If we are immoral, we have 4 regulative principles, because that is the foundation on which our devotion is built upon. But devotion is still independent. It can even awaken in the heart of a person who does not know anything about morality.
Yeah, and the ultimate morality is just doing whatever pleases Krishna.
Yes. Ultimate morality is pleasing Krishna. That's true too. That's what the gopis follow. When they leave their husbands and the children in the middle of the night and go to meet Krishna, that is a trans morality. It is transcending morality. It's not good or it's not whether it's right or wrong. No, it's beyond morality.
Yeah, beyond morality means mundane
beyond the 3
morality.
modes, actually. That's of a completely different category of activity. They are not like any normal man and normal women in this world. Yeah, mundane morality means for people who are absorbed in the 3 modes. No? Yes. And it is required for them. Otherwise, they'll become sinful and they'll go away from, they'll not have the foundation that is required to awaken, not awaken bhakti, a foundation to remain within the society where they can come across bhakti, association. If I'm a drug addict and I also always hang out with drug addicted people, then my opportunities to come across devotees will become reduced. Yes, yes. Okay, also, Prabhu, when you were talking about how savage Narada Muni was, and then you started praising him for being sweet also. I couldn't figure out which one, was he savage or was he sweet? Or was he both? It does not mean necessarily to be exclusive. Prabhupada was really loving and caring, but he could also be savage. There is a pastime where Prabhupada asked his assistant in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., go and wake up one Swami. And it's middle of the night, like 2 a.m. The assistant is also already was sleeping, but he has a night duty, so he was sitting and sleeping. He ran to that Swami's room. He woken up that devotee and he brought him. And that Swami is completely confused. Why in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. Maharaj, and Prabhupada is waking me up? Maybe I did a mistake. Is there an emergency? What happened? He's confused and he did not take a shower or anything. He just came straight and his eyes were like unable to stay open. And asking, offers obeisance, Prabhupada, what is the problem? He said, what are you doing? Prabhupada said, the Swami said, Prabhupada, I'm sleeping. He said, why are you sleeping? Prabhupada, it's middle of the night, 2 a.m. Yeah, it's the same for me, but I am not sleeping. But Prabhupada, you are a pure devotee. Then he asked, why are you not a pure devotee? And he was confused, caught like completely like shocked. And Prabhupada, I am not a pure devotee. That's what, why you are not a pure devotee? He became very angry. He asked very pointedly, why you are not a pure devotee? That's what I'm asking. Prabhupada, please forgive me. He offered obeisances. He didn't know what to do. He just fell flat. He said, Prabhupada, please forgive me. And I'm just like stupid. He just became humbled. And he rose and then he was humble. Prabhupada said, okay, go back and go to sleep. You can go to sleep. Because this sannyasi during the day had actually collected a huge amount of money for building the Vrindavan temple. And Prabhupada appreciated him for that. But later Prabhupada came to know that he went and told somebody something and they said something and he said, who do you think? I brought this much money for this project. That news came to Prabhupada's ears.
Attention.
Prabhupada knew, okay, this guy is having this pride. He immediately, he knew how to humble him. Coming from a place of compassion. It is coming because he cares for this devotee. At the same time, as a spiritual master, he needs to do his job also. He got that perfect intelligence to do it in a right way that this person can be humbled. Like, he knows, okay, middle of the night you wake this person and ask, why are you not a pure devotee? He's going to be completely, he will face that reality like day and night. He will not have any excuses to make. And he understands. Prabhupada is a pure devotee. He's sitting there and translating at 2 a.m. It does not matter. And it is because of his potency that money has come. It is not because of this devotee. There can be no better way than to make that etch in his mind forever. That don't think you are someone. Everything is happening because of my purity. Be a humble servant and continue your service. It's the spiritual master. It does everything out of compassion. Can sometimes come as in that way of being savage.
Okay, Prabhu, one last thing that I missed. You were explaining why Narada Muni was specifically using the name Vasa. Can you repeat this?
Bhagavatam is a literature for Krishna.
Yeah.
It's exclusively for Krishna. However, all the other avatars are mentioned, touched upon for various purposes. However, Bhagavatam belongs to Krishna. And that is why instead of saying, he could have said Bhagavan, he could have said any other name, but he clearly says Devasya. It makes it extremely clear that Bhagavatam is for the sake of speaking about Krishna's pastimes.
This was my question. Why he uses the name Vyasadev and not Krishna?
Oh, means Krishna and Vasudeva are non-different. It is it's one of the prominent names. Because when you say Krishna, or when it can be even like people may say, okay, Krishna is just any avatar of Vishnu. However, when you say son of, who is son of Vasudeva? Cannot be Vishnu. It brings and that personality much more pronounced. It's not this, that, clearly very son. They may say, okay, if you just used Krishna, okay, Krishna generically means all avatars of the Lord. But when you say son of Krishna, then it becomes much more particular.
No, if you say son of Vasudev.
Sorry, Vasudev.
If you say son of Vasudev, then...
No, Vasudev is not the word at all. There is no son of Vasudev. Of course, there are Pradyumna and all of them, but they are usually not called that way. It creates more confusion.
Yeah, but this is what you had said before. If you cannot say son of...
Vasudev means son of Vasudev, right?
Yes. He's using the term Dev. How is it by using Vasudev, you can only be talking about
Krishna.
You can only be talking about Krishna. But people have different ideas of even who Krishna is, right? Some people think Krishna is avatar of...
That is not, see, that is established in the book itself. If they have that confusion, but if the point that is being addressed in that verse is, who is Bhagavatam dedicated to? Predominantly, primarily. Okay. No, not to Vishnu, exclusively for Krishna.
Okay, Prabhu. I'm wondering, was it just me, or did anybody else also experience a low volume today in the audio?
Is that? You could have told before.
No, I know, but it was manageable.
I'm in a rural place. There is hardly like proper internet. I'm glad at least today's class went without interruption. Yesterday's class was a circus that I had to take, an online class that I had. Today, at least by the mercy of Wi-Fi, we didn't have to go in and out. It would have been, it's very disturbing when you want to speak, when it constantly cutting and in and out. Like I just cannot keep the thought flow. But yeah, please, if anytime you feel the audio is low, please let me know, because I can do some pastimes here. Like I might be missing. I might mess up many things. There are too many points with technology. You don't know what you like. There are too many points that I can mess up things. Yeah, please let me know.
Yeah, no, I didn't want you to interrupt because it was manageable, but I had to just really...
Okay, I'll check my recording. Hopefully it came like decent.
No, it was okay. Okay. It's just that it could have been louder.
And also the room that I use, this is very big. it can take away
I think
my
that's it.
things. The usual room that I use at the Bhakti Center is smaller. It has like a good acoustic.
Yeah, I
This
think that
one
was
has a
it.
huge room. Hardly anything is there. Acoustics problem.
I can see that. I think that was it actually.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, your volume was fine, but it's just Gail's eagerness to hear that the volume will always be low for her. I just wanted to. For my conditioning, the volume was perfect.
I cannot escape this, Prabhu, at all. My God.
Okay,
No
one
one
day,
can. No one
And
can.
what sins I have committed in my previous life
some birth, Gail, I will be
to
as
get this reality.
I'm in a retreat upstate New York. I don't know exactly this place. It's closer to New Windsor.
Oh wow. Yeah. No, Prabhu, your volume was fine, but yeah, someday I will also be as eager as Gail to hear that.
Can we empathize with Antaji's situation?
I don't envy her at all. Oh my God.
Prabhu, but I have a question also. But no, before I started my question, it was important to appreciate Gail's sincerity.
Yes, that's of course.
Prabhu, with those verses, I think they were between 15 and
22, 19.
By basically that principle where you said that just varnashram, basically just morality, just varnashram by itself, what is the value of it? Instead, give them pure message about Krishna. And even if they fall from that platform, that is also okay, better than practicing or living a modern life perfectly. And then you gave that example also, right? That achar and rice, that what Vyasadev gave Artha, Dharma, Kamamo, he gave everything else so much more importance. And in between, he put Krishna's pastimes. I was just thinking with that, and you just said it also in response to Gail's thing, that we also have the four regulative principles, right? That's why Prabhupada made sure that we take a vow for those principles at the time of initiation. I was just thinking that I think what Vyasadev did up before Narada Muni asked him to directly glorify Krishna, shouldn't it be like a package, like a combination, a necessary combination that, okay, whatever you gave for living morally should still stay very important for a devotee. Then they just add this on top, like Krishna's message or hearing about Krishna.
That's why
Otherwise,
all the Vedic leaders, Mahabharata, everything was put intact. Like it was, he didn't say burn everything else. The only literature that can go henceforward is Bhagavatam. No,
Yeah.
that did not happen.
But even when we say, okay, let's directly dive into Krishna's glories and everything, it almost feels like we need to still keep both side by side.
That's true. See, if you consider Prabhupada's situation, when he came to the West, to get them to the Varnashram platform and to think of giving bhakti would be impossible. What Prabhupada thought was, okay, whatever. Take to the culture of bhakti. Naturally, all the good qualities will come also through their surrender to their spiritual master. But see, Prabhupada never compromised on those things. Even though he did not want them to, they may not have Varnashram qualifications or anything. Prabhupada said, no, you cannot eat meat, you cannot do this, you cannot do this, that you should commit, you should chant 16 rounds, because from chanting Hare Krishna, all those things could be produced. A person, character can be revived because the soul originally it has character. We're just like trying to revive soul's original nature. Varna is an adjustment. Until the soul is fully awakened, you give some moral restrictions and culture that it doesn't go to sinful activities completely. But when on the soul level, when the character is awakened, there is no problem. But it is not an easy thing. That is why Varnashram is given. It's not in everyone's capacity to awaken the original character of the soul easily. Until then, you need morality to pass through and live within a structure that you can continue to practice bhakti. However, Kali Yuga is an emergency situation. What Prabhupada set example by his life is the real situation of Kali Yuga. We all still have some Indian background, some culture, this, that. Still, it's not anywhere close to taking to, like when we came to bhakti, we knew much more than what we followed before. It all got some meaning when we actually took up to devotional service. It in some way helped us. But still, there are many other devotees who did not come from that culture. Is there any difference from them? They have also taken to bhakti, and the rest has come from there. I'm not sure if I'm really going to answering a question. In short, like what I would feel is, yes, the morality-based literatures are all still there. And Bhagavatam also clearly establishes, that's why the first 9 canto is given, that we get purified and then we can enter into Krishna's pastimes directly.